I'm going to talk about the reasons that must be present in order for an arrest without a warrant to be lawful. This is my second video on the subject of arrest. The legislation concerning the lawfulness of an arrest without a warrant is set down at section 24 of the Police and Criminal Evidence Act 1984, otherwise known as PACE. In my previous video, I explained that two distinct elements were required. The first element concerns that an officer must reasonably suspect that the person concerned has either committed an offence or is committing an offence or is about to commit an offence. The second element requires reasons for an arrest to be necessary, and it's these reasons that I want to consider in this video. So the reasons are these. One, in order to enable the officer to ascertain the name of the individual in question. Two, in order to enable the officer to ascertain the address of the individual in question. Three, in order to prevent the individual in question either causing injury to himself or another, or suffering injury to himself or another, or to prevent the person in question causing loss of or damage to property, or to prevent an offence of outraging public decency, or to prevent an unlawful obstruction of the highway. The fourth reason that must be present in order for an arrest without warrant to be lawful is to protect a child or other vulnerable person. The fifth element, and this is the one perhaps most frequently used, is to enable the prompt and effective investigation of an alleged offence. And the final reason that must be present, so one of these reasons must always be present, is to prevent the disappearance of the individual in question. So to consider each of these briefly in turn. One, in order to enable an officer to ascertain the name of the individual in question. So, for example, if an individual is stopped and searched by the police and on their person is found various documents in the name of different people, it might be that that would be a reasonable ground for an officer to suspect that they could not reasonably ascertain the individual's name. Likewise, for the address requirement, if an individual's property is searched and within that property there are various documents for various addresses, that might be a reasonable ground. When considering the reasons relating to prevention either of injury or of damage to property or of offences outraging public decency or of obstruction of the highway, those are fairly straightforward and fairly self-explanatory. The requirement to protect a child or other vulnerable person, that may require some justification, particularly, for example, if the individual has voluntarily attended at the police station, because if they have voluntarily attended alone at the police station, then it might be argued that it's no longer necessary to protect the child or vulnerable person since the person concerned has surrendered themselves to police at the police station. The example or the reason requiring a prompt and effective investigation of an alleged offence, well, if the constable has arrested the individual in the process of committing an offence or suspected of committing an offence, that might be fine. However, for a voluntary attendance, if an individual is required to attend at the police station voluntarily, then it might be argued that the reason isn't present because it's neither prompt nor effective, because the individual has been asked to go at a particular time and has done so, has agreed to attend voluntarily. So it might be that the prompt and effective reason is not met, and therefore if an officer tries to arrest an individual who voluntarily attends the police station, it might be that that ground might not be met. And the final example concerns preventing the disappearance of an individual that would then hinder an investigation. So, for example, if an individual is stopped by police on their way to the airport with a passport, with an airport ticket on them, it might be that that might then be a reasonable ground for arrest. So in summary, the reasons that must be present in order for an arrest without a warrant to be lawful under Section 24 of PACE are to ascertain the name or the address, or to prevent some sort of injury or loss of property, or to protect a child or other vulnerable person, to allow the prompt and effective investigation of an offence, or to prevent the disappearance of the person concerned.